We do not always appreciate the importance of our health until we lose it. When we are told that nothing can be done to heal us, no matter how much money we have, everything that seems so important before now starts to lose its value. We experience pain, desperation, and loneliness in the presence of others. Then we acknowledge that healing is a gift that goes beyond medicine, that there are other options out there that may help us, and that there is a higher power that controls the distribution of this gift. As a result, we hesitantly and somewhat reluctantly begin to explore these other avenues. To our great surprise, we discover the secrets of the universe through alternative medicine. We experience and respect the generosity of divinity through various health modalities. Our faith is restored, our health improves, and life begins to make sense again. Health is a basic human right. And healing is a gift that is given to us by God through a variety of channels, including doctors and other alternative practitioners. How is it that until now we did not know that there was so much on offer? That doesn't really matter. For now, we are being given the chance to know.
A very warm welcome in this year 2015. I hope you did have a good rest, and I'm sure you are back rejuvenated and beaming with new resolutions. And I hope in your new list of resolutions, you have added something about making changes in your lifestyle in order to improve your health. In our show this year, we will make some adjustments just to add value to what we are already doing. In some episodes, we will focus on giving you advice and tips which will surprise you in terms of making or breaking your health. When I talked about fruit and how it adversely affects some of you if you are deficient on aldolase enzyme, I know that it shook the foundation of many of your belief systems regarding your health. Some of you tested it for themselves and got confirmation of this theory. Others accepted it readily because some were already reacting to some fruits, even though they had no idea what was causing the reaction, and they had stopped taking those fruits on their own before they even came to see us. Some are still battling to come to grips with this theory. Whatever the case, what is important is that you have received the information. What you do with it is your prerogative. So today, we will talk about another food item and how it affects your health in a good or a bad way. Like we always do, we will substantiate our theory, and remember, information is power. So sit back and enjoy this show.
Let me ask you a question. How often do you see a sick wild animal? Very rarely. Animals that get sick and even have dedicated vets looking after them are domesticated ones. One might say yes, those that you find in the zoo do get sick quite often. True, Those do get sick because they are domesticated. They are controlled by the runners of the park. They stay where the owners decide and eat what is prescribed for them. Wild animals work to find their food. They use their instincts, and they only eat what they instinctively know they should eat. They are as fit as no domesticated animal can ever be. Look at the comparison. What sets them apart from us is that they follow their natural laws and they follow their natural eating habits. A herb-eating one only eats herbs. A meat-eating one only eats meat. And the one that eats both meat and herbs does that, but eats the naturally produced that it instinctively knows it should eat. And what is the result? Longevity at its best. For us humans, we are still battling to understand the important natural law, which is, you are what you eat. So you need to know what is good for you according to your genetic makeup and other factors pertaining to you. You are what you eat.
Welcome back. We are now getting to our interesting session. This is the session that I like, where we discuss with Carol and some of the questions that you raise, and she actually becomes your spokesperson because she asks some of the questions that you guys are asking or would have asked had you had a chance to talk to us. Hi, Carol.
Hello.
How are you this year?
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
Okay.
Looking forward to some interesting debates here.
Yeah.
I can see they're brewing.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
they are. Okay.
Good.
Today we've taken a little bit of a curve in our usual, because we're not talking about just an illness, but we're talking about a particular food item in relation to illnesses. And we're talking about salt.
Okay.
Yeah, salt.
Cool.
I'm sure many people would actually say salt. Salt. We're talking about salt.
I think people have probably been so conditioned into thinking salt was bad. And now I think today the debate is going to take us on a whole different channel to actually find out the pros and cons. So I'm very excited to find out what it is you're going to be telling us.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Where do we start with this, Thembi? We've been so used to hearing salt in connection with blood pressure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we actually, when you think about it, when people are on blood pressure pills and they see doctors and they're on chronic medications, if we go to these people and actually chat to them and see, most of them are on a salt-free diet.
Yes.
Or a lot of them, the salt has been limited.
Yes.
Okay. We know salt enhances our food and flavors. What are the benefits besides just being a flavorant or to spice up our food? What are the benefits in relation to this with high blood pressure?
Okay. Salt is huge when it comes to what it does to our health. It's really, really huge. We can never survive without salt. Mm-hmm. And before I even get to that and explain, if you see how we started our show this year, we've tried and see how we are connected to nature, because we're part of nature.
Sure.
The ecosystem that connects us to plants and animals, and as we all form one big creation of God, and we have to coexist because we depend on one another. So we cannot separate ourselves from nature. Mm-hmm. So even talking about salt, therefore, if you look at salt, I mean, look at the land and at the planet. If you look at the planet, you will see that there is more water than dry land. If you look at nature, therefore, at the planet, there is more water in the form of seas, in the form of even water underneath. I mean, under the ground, underground
water resources.
Underground. So we've got more water than we've got dry land. But then if you look at that water, you cannot separate it from salt.
Sure.
That's where our salt comes from. It's a naturally provided commodity. So it comes from the creation of God. Now, if you look at water, we cannot survive without water.
Sure.
And you cannot separate salt from water. That's now just nature. Mm-hmm. But now look at the makeup of men, at the composition of men. We are more blood than flesh and bones. Mm-hmm. About 91% of who we are, it's plasma is water. Yes. You know, so we are just like the earth, exactly. As I've just explained. Yes. So we're more water, but then water is a twin with salt, because even in our bodies, blood carries salt.
Correct.
Like we get salt from the sea that is provided to us by nature. So we cannot survive without salt. But then, having said that, let's take it to what does it really do to our bodies as a health benefit. Now, many people know of a term that we always refer to, metabolism. Mm-hmm. Many people say, "Oh, my metabolism is sluggish, so that's why I am not losing weight." Mm-hmm. Others say, "Mine is so increased; it's so high, I'm burning all the time." So people think metabolism just refers to food, and yet it is so much complex than that. Yeah. Okay. Now, metabolism is a process. It's actually a chemical process where the body uses all the chemicals and the food and the oxygen and everything that we need for our cells to be produced, mm-hmm. for our cells to be repaired, for us to survive, for the cell survival. Remember, a human being is made up of cells.
Correct.
In fact, even plants are made up
millions
of cells.
And millions.
So those cells, they get produced. Mm-hmm. They actually, the process is they get produced, they survive, they do their work, they die. There's a program that is called apoptosis program, where they get produced, they are used, they divide, they die. Produced, you know, and that process has got to be followed right through to death. Mm-hmm. A cell has got to die and be produced again. Sometimes they do get recycled, they get recycled and they are repaired, but they have got to follow that. That is a natural process. But do you know the commodity or the chemical that is actually regulating that process? It's salt.
Oh, wow.
It is salt. So salt, you cannot have a proper metabolism without salt. You are toast mm-hmm. if you cannot have salt. So, of course, it's not just salt that is involved in metabolism. There are other programs that are involved as well, but the chemical that is huge in regulating that metabolism is the salt. Yeah. So that means therefore, and I want people to understand, when I talk metabolism, I'm not just talking food, I'm talking your survival. Sure. Your cell survival, because you are made up of small components of cells, you know, so you are cells. Mm-hmm. And those cells, for them to survive and live and produce and do all the things, they need metabolism. And salt is the main component of ensuring that metabolism.
But Thembi, this sounds like such a complicated process. And when you think of people that have had blood pressure and they say, wouldn't a salt-free diet help?
Yeah.
I mean, so what you're saying to me now doesn't certainly sound that a salt-free diet is actually going to assist these people, especially with their slow metabolism or speeded up metabolism. How would you respond to that now? Being in a salt-free diet completely, what would happen to this person?
It's actually a huge disservice to a person that is given that instruction. But I'll explain. Let me explain that so that we understand very clearly. Now, if you look at the cell itself, the one that we're talking about, where metabolism is important in making sure it's produced, it survives, and all that. Now, inside the cell, there are two main chemicals that I want to talk about. One of those is sodium, which is salt.
Correct.
The other one is potassium.
Okay.
Okay. That forms part of the cell structure. But now, inside that cell, the way nature has set us up is such that sodium must always be there, but it must be on a lower scale than potassium.
Okay.
Potassium must always be higher, and sodium must always be on a low. But you need that sodium.
Okay, but in correct ratios.
In correct ratios.
Okay.
But that sodium, one of its functions, it actually draws water from the blood to service the cells. Because remember, you cannot survive without water. That is why when you're dehydrated, you will actually die. And blood is largely water.
And it carries it.
It carries it.
Okay.
So that salt, therefore, I'm just breaking it further down to explain how it actually, some of its working processes.
Okay.
So it draws water from the blood into those cell crevices, into those. But then that process has got to be maintained. It must be balanced. It cannot draw too much. It must draw enough just to keep the cells hydrated. And then any excess is eliminated.
Okay.
But that process, in order to maintain it in a balance, is because of that potassium high
and the sodium low
balance. So that is important. That must always be the case.
You know, sorry, Thembi, just to interrupt you there. I'm here for the people to ask and answer the questions.
Yes.
And something, as you're speaking to me now, it just explained it so much easier. When you see somebody that is dehydrated and they put them on a drip, they're putting the drip into your vein, which is going into your bloodstream. And from there, but you'll always see somebody, they will test to see if they're dehydrated by picking up the skin.
Exactly.
And if the skin is all crinkled, they would say, oh, this person is dehydrated. So they put them onto a drip. The saline solution goes into the bloodstream. And from there, now I'm starting to understand that you were saying about then we will actually release the water from the blood to regenerate the cells and to just hydrate the cells.
Exactly. That is the function of salt.
But now I'm just looking at this, and they will always say that the saline, which is salt, potassium, sodium mixture, is in the drip.
Yes.
So now I'm starting to understand it on a whole different level, because to think that it comes through the blood. Now we understand. Because it's going through. Because, I mean, all our viewers will know when you've been on a drip, if you're dehydrated, how the salt, potassium, or sodium gets back into the cells to hydrate us.
So that is the function of the salt. Sodium.
I understand.
But now this is what happens. Now, whenever there is something that disturbs that balance, and then sodium ends up being too much, then that becomes a problem. Because then it draws more water. Because if you remember when I was talking about blood pressure in the past and diabetes, and telling people that it actually destroys, it damages the tissues. Because it disturbs that balance. Then once the sodium is on the increase, then it draws more water. Remember, its function is to draw water anyway.
That is its function.
So once it's on the increase, then it draws too much water to those cells. And cells cannot be in a wet state. Cells must always be in a state of dryness. Not dehydrated but dry.
The correct balance.
So the correct balance, they must only have enough fluid just to get into the cell crevices, and then the rest must be eliminated. But that balance, that potassium-sodium balance, does it perfectly. But once the balance is disturbed, then it's a problem, because then sodium draws too much water into those cells, and then they get damaged.
Absolutely.
Hence, I was talking about gangrene, if you remember when we were talking about diabetes, because then that's what happens. Because once you have too much water being attracted to those cell membranes, then that damages them.
Tembi, that would be then also when people retain fluid.
Oh, yeah.
But too much fluid.
Exactly.
And people will push and you'll see that it stays yellow.
Yes.
There's too much liquid in the cells.
Yes.
So you call that then the wet state?
The wet state.
Okay.
But then that's why then you find, I mean, it happens to many people with diabetes, with blood pressure and all that, because it messes up that balance. Then you find what they do, they say, stay away from salt. That's why they end up putting people on salt-free diet.
Okay.
Because that sodium is now on the high, on the rise, and then it's drawing too much water, and then they say stay away from salt.
How do we know when we reach the balance?
No, but then remember they do have systems where they test the electrolytes. I mean, they do have systems where they actually test. Besides the fact that you will start feeling sweat, I mean, not sweaty, but bloated, edema, not bloated, but swelling.
Okay.
You will start by noticing the swelling.
Okay.
Okay, and then you find maybe you start having the gangrene. You will pick up signs that there are problems. Particularly, the first sign is swelling. Because then you're accumulating those.
Normally the feet, the ankles, we see this a lot.
Exactly, because of gravity. Because remember, feet tend to be always the first because of gravity. Force of gravity is always pulling everything down. So that water is pulled down. But then, but that's what happens. So then they put you in a salt-free diet. Now, when they put you on a salt-free diet, that's now a catch-22. Because remember also when there's too much salt, that salt is creating problems. But at the same time, you need that salt for metabolism so that you actually repair those tissues and those cells. So when they put you on a salt-free diet, then it's a catch-22. They're creating a problem by trying to fix another problem.
Correct.
And that's why you find that people will be on salt-free diet, but they will still have renal problems, renal failures, and all that. Because now that they're taking away salt completely, and that salt is needed for metabolism, that creates another complication. But having said that, Carol, the table salt on its own is a problem because it is too much sodium. And remember, when we get salt from the sea in their natural state, it's got a lot of other trace elements. It's not just sodium chloride.
Okay.
But because the business works on it to make it, to give it shelf life so that it's packaged well, it can be put on the shelves, you can sell it. They actually, and they heat it so that it doesn't crystallize and all that. So they actually destroy the trace elements that are naturally there. And they leave a lot of sodium chloride. So that is why you find that salt is actually bad.
So it's not the right one that we need.
It's not the right one for all of us anyway. I know they're going to kill me. I mean, the businesses are going to kill me. But we're talking the information that people need.
Okay.
But once you have a disturbed potassium balance, the problem is actually aggravated, which is why they remove that salt. But the problem is it's fine for them to remove that salt because that salt is bad for you anyways, making things. But you've got to still have salt.
Okay.
You cannot not have salt. But remember, anyway, salt does not just come from a table salt. You also get salt from food.
You sure?
Yeah, because remember, plants come, they get their salt from the soil and all that. You still get salt from food. So it's not completely eradicated, but it's limited to an extent where you find your body is battling to restore the proper metabolism, and the tissues degenerate and keep dying and dying. Hence, you find that in spite of having the salt-free diet, you still have problems. But now I want to go back again to blood pressure.
Okay.
Now you will find that most people that are taken off salt, taken that given salt-free diet, it's people that are hypertensive, people with blood pressure. But now the problem that conventional is doing is that they bundle everybody who's got blood pressure in one basket. And yet the different types of blood pressures don't always relate to renal problems, where the sodium, potassium stories actually, the hormones that assist with that are produced. They're actually produced in the kidneys. But if, for instance, if you remember when we were talking about blood pressure, I divided them into three.
I remember.
The portal vein, which is liver related.
Correct.
Which has got nothing to do with potassium sodium balance. Of course, indirectly. You need to sort out the liver, whatever's causing damage to the liver, so that it can clear that portal vein, so that blood can flow through.
Correct.
So, in order to deal with that, you don't have to take the person from the salt free. You give the person the salt free, fix that liver, then that blood pressure gets sorted.
Correct.
The portal vein, the pulmonary hypertension, which has got to do with either a pulmonary thrombosis, the blockage, of the pulmonary arteries, in order then maybe it's gas and all that. Like I indicated in the past, people that have got a lot of gas that actually creates obstruction, then you find they end up having pulmonary hypertension. That you need to sort the obstruction, whatever's causing the obstruction, you have to remove that. Then the blood pressure is sorted. But now the adrenal hypertension, which is the one that's common, which affects the kidneys, that's the one that ends up messing the potassium-sodium balance, because the hormones that do that are actually produced in the kidneys and in your adrenal glands.
Okay.
So those are the blood pressures where you find the question of salt-free diet is recommended. It may make sense if it gets recommended.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying that's where it's always, blood pressure, when it's out of control, you find they say salt-free diet.
Yeah.
Even if it's whichever it is.
Yes.
But the one that would be more relevant for salt, not salt-free, but to remove the table salt and actually replace it with this salt that we are going to present to clients, to people, so that they know that there is hope.
Okay.
That is what should be the case.
All right.
Remove the table salt, because it's bad for all of us anyway. Table salt is bad for all of us anyway. We need to have the right type of salt with the right trace elements and all that. But you cannot not have salt.
It's got to be there.
That's why I'm saying it's a catch-22.
Sure.
Because for those cells to be repaired, you need to have salt so that it helps with metabolism, and in order to be able to restore the damage that has already been done. But that's where they get it wrong. So what I'm saying, so my answer therefore is, get off the table salt, but take salt that has got all the trace elements that you need for your body in order to continue assisting with metabolism. Because in order to repair those cells, you need to have a proper metabolism.
This is a salt that every home and family should have and use. It has 82 trace elements, it's not heated, and it's in its natural state. You will be absolutely amazed at its health benefits, even its flavor. It's suitable for everybody to use, even those people who are on salt-free diets. We will also recommend on how you should actually be taking it. So, to place an order, call us on 041 484 1555 or order online at info@healthhaven.co.za. It's the best salt that your body can ever need.
Tammy, you're making me think now. I've seen certain salts where it's the ionized salt. I can actually see the packet in front of me.
Yeah.
Now, I see that now with the iodine content. What is iodine and how does it benefit us coming together with the salt?
Iodine is actually an element that is found in salt. It's a very important element.
Sorry, I'm just thinking now, you're saying that again. I know a lot of people that are allergic to fish. I mean, fish come from the sea with the salt. There's allergies according to that. So I'm just putting all this together and I was making sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iodine is an element that is found in salt. It's actually, it forms part of, it's one of the elements that are used for metabolism because it produces the hormones like your thyroxine that are used for metabolism.
Again.
So it's very important.
Okay.
So, but now the reason why you find they actually say iodized salt, it's because when they prepare that salt for business purposes, they destroy a whole lot of proper or naturally occurring nutrients or trace elements in those salt. And therefore, they end up having to add iodine.
Put it back in again.
Put it back again.
Okay.
Because they know it's important for metabolism. So when they say salt is naturally iodized, but the iodization of salt is destroyed by the processing of salt when they prepare it for shelf life.
Okay.
So hence they destroy it and then they add it. Interesting, eh?
Yes.
Remove and then add. You know, so that is what it is. So for someone who is therefore not taking salt, that's why you find that some end up developing the goiter, you know, the thyroid ends up enlarging and all that because they are deprived of iodine, which
what they're needing.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
Okay. Timmy, I'm just thinking now you mentioned the potassium, the sodium. I remember you telling me a while ago about a case that you had where there was a sodium and a potassium deficiency or imbalance.
Yes.
How did you deal with this?
In fact, I've had quite a few cases that fall in this category, but this particular one that I want to share with viewers was a classical one. Classical in the sense, now when this person, this was a lady that she was brought in by her husband. But the reason why she was brought in is because she had a toe that was excruciatingly painful.
You mean a toe on her foot?
A toe on her foot.
Right.
It had been removed, you know, because she was diabetic, she was hypertensive, and she was also diagnosed as having renal failure. Okay, so she was already attending
dialysis.
Yeah. But now the toe had been removed because they believed she had gangrene. But now what confused them was, while she had, the toe had been removed, the pain did not dissipate. In fact, it doubled. And yet when the gangrenous toe has been removed, the pain is supposed to go away. You may have phantom pain, which is fictitious pain only for a while, but then after some time, pain is supposed to be gone because you have removed a rotten part. Because remember, with gangrene, it's rotten, it's dead, so you remove it. But now with her, the pain would not go away, and it was excruciating. So, and they tried everything at the hospital to try and fix, but they would. So that is the reason why this lady was brought in. It was not renal. They had already accepted that she had renal failure and diabetes uncontrolled and all that and that. But why they wanted something that would heal that toe. So when I scanned her, firstly, the toe was, the foot was not gangrenous. It was not gangrene, but she had a connective tissue damage. She had systemic sclerosis. And that is what had affected the toe. So that the reason why the pain was not going away was because they had not fixed the connective tissue, which was the cause for her to have so much pain. So, but that was one thing. I mean, I mentioned that. But the interesting thing about this whole case was, I did not pick up renal failure. She was actually not supposed to go to attend dialysis session. The kidneys were compromised, but they had not completely packed up. They had not packed up at all. Both of them were still in a functional state. But now the problem was in her thyroid.
Wow.
The thyroid, she had a condition, she had a thyroid sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune disorder that causes inflammation you may have sarcoidosis in any organ, but in her case, she had it in her thyroid. Now, it causes the inflammation, and the inflammation does not go away. Because remember, with the inflammation, when it occurs and the body releases antibodies and all that, and with your antibiotics, the inflammation does go away, and and all those pathogens, they die. But when you've got sarcoidosis, they don't die. It's like a bee. When a bee stings you, it dies.
Yes.
But so when it fights and it stings you, and then it dies. Which is what happens within our bodies. That's why I'm always drawing people back to nature. But then there is this other insect that stings. Is it a wasp? A wasp.
Or
a
hornet.
Wasp, it doesn't die.
Correct.
It will sting you repeatedly.
Yes.
So this is what sarcoidosis does. It's not like a bee. It's like a wasp.
Oh, my word.
So, and now because she had, and now remember with thyroid sarcoidosis, they had never picked that up. And that is what was destroying the tissues and the cells because that thyroid was battling. And now the interesting thing is, now when you've got sarcoidosis, it disturbs the uric acid levels. You may even confuse it with renal failure and all that, because those levels are so high. And yet it was not the kidneys that was messing up those acid levels. It was uric acid levels. It was the thyroid. So we had to fix the thyroid so that it corrects metabolism. It lowers the levels. So, meanwhile, because when they check on them, they always read the electrolytes. They would see those uric acid. Then they kept on. And the interesting thing, she was also fructose intolerant. So I put her on a whole program. But now, this is where the problem continued. Now she was on attending the dialysis machine, and was going on a weekly basis. And I could not tell the doctors that she was, because remember, she's now on dialyzing machine. She's on limited liquid intake, fluid intake, and she's on fruit because they're putting on a lot of apple juice. She had to take too much apple juice,
which she's allergic to,
which she's intolerant to. She was. So it was a completely toppled mess, a completely complicated mess, and now my problem was, how do you teach them so that they understand? Because remember, they've got faith in that dialysis machine. Now,
it wasn't making a difference.
It's not making. She's got it. In fact, she was already. Instead, it's creating more complications. Now the thyroid is doing its thing. Raising those uric. It was such
a mess.
It was a mess.
Shame.
It was one case where I felt, wow, if we could work
in
collaboration with conventional, we would save a lot of lives collectively.
I'm sure.
That lady continued with, and I said to them, I cannot deal with, of course they did take the medication, but I said, you've got to follow these instructions that I'm giving you. She must stay away from fruit. And this is the diet that she must follow. I'm gonna, within a few days she started, and then within a few days she came in with the mother, and the mother said, I wanted to come also because I am shocked at the difference that I see within days,
the improvement,
and I want to take her over so that she can stay with me, and I want to follow how I need to follow these instructions. Okay, so. And the difference with them, you would not believe the difference. The toe was still paining, but because the connective tissue, the process of repairing that connective tissue is not a few days thing. And now, but then she had to continue with dialysis sessions. I could not talk to her doctors to say, hey guys, let us relook at this case. You know? And they took her back to Fruit. And they could not refuse to take. So it was, and I ended up feeling
helpless.
I cannot. Yeah. For us to be able to deal with this case,
sure,
we need to work together
in conjunction.
What is being done, I can see it's only leading. And that lady died. The husband came to me afterwards, and he just came to report that, you know, I wish I had met you guys earlier. My wife completely, she succumbed.
They were so sad.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, therefore, is there are many people who are in renal...
plenty.
Who are not supposed to, who do not even need to have a renal kidney transplant, and who can be assisted to restore those, because remember, cells do repair.
Absolutely.
The body, you can have a deep cut and then you find after some time it has complete, because the body has got its natural abilities of repairing those cells and those tissues. But you've got to know how to sort that process in order to achieve.
But you know, Thembi, when you look at the body, like you just said, with a cut, we can repair bones. Our bones can rebuild. They can actually fix a broken arm, a broken leg. A cut, the body sends the platelet, stops the bleeding. Our body is a self-healing, self-cleaning mechanism. But like you said, we've got to know what to give it.
Because it teaches us. You see, the problem with conventional is they think they own the body. God owns the body, and God created the body and presented it as a completely, perfectly working machine.
Absolutely.
So all that we need to do is to learn from it, because it teaches us. We don't tell that the heart must pump at 70.
It just does it by itself.
It does it, but then it teaches us that this is how I want you to do it. So because conventional has tried to understand some of the, so they think you can never.
No.
You can never. So each section, each technique has learned its piece.
Absolutely.
And that one, it's piece.
But it works in conjunction.
Collectively,
correct,
we can make a huge difference in people's health.
Thembi, we were talking earlier on when you started the show about what we've been given. I was actually just looking through magazines and I saw the two healthiest populations or population groups on the continent are Atlanta, at the Atlantic Ocean on the right at the top, the Arctic Circle, and also Siberia, where they have all the salt mines. Now, I mean, the air obviously does have a certain content of salt in it that they're breathing in. And of course, in the Arctic, I mean, they basically live on salmon with omega-3, 6, and 9s. And the people are the two healthiest population groups on the planet. So you're saying now what we've been given. So those people live there. Yes, they're utilizing the resources they've been given. We live where we live. When people, every denomination, wherever they live, we will have the foods around us that is what we need for our own survival, from the soil and the nutrients. And it's just so perfectly devised, and we, I think, just tend to mess it up a bit.
Not a bit, a lot, Carol.
Largely.
We have messed it up big time.
It's so sad. When all we need to do is listen.
Listen and obey.
Correct.
Follow. Because the body teaches us. It's just like the case with fruit, where you find a person says, yeah, you know, when I eat something, or when I drink milk, or this, you know, because the body does give signals. It's just that we don't know how to read those signals. It does.
You know, you often hear people when they've eaten a pie or a sandwich, they say, oh, my tummy's grumbling and making noises. And you don't actually think why it's doing that. You have to learn to listen to your body.
You have to learn to listen to it.
Absolutely. Tell me, with some of the protocols and the medicines that I see you dispensing with all the clients here, a lot of the times it does seem to almost start a runny tummy,
Yes.
And people tend to panic about this. Can you maybe just give us a little bit more insight into that and about detoxifying of the body? Because straight away when I think of detox, I think of a kitchen sink that's blocked. And it's got a plug in here and it's got a little elbow trying to get whatever's inside the sink or that's blocking it to get it out the system.
Yes.
And I think people are very confused when they do go onto the protocol of the detox and that they will say, I've got a runny tummy. Now, I don't know.
And then they think they're dehydrated.
But I don't think of any way how we're going to clean the sink without getting it out. We can't just heat it up and it's going to pop out a little dry pellet. What happens in the body when we detox? Because people have this fear of dehydrating. That's why I mentioned it earlier, just with the drip scenario and people not actually understanding totally. So run us through that one a bit.
You see, one of the things that we do in our protocols, as you've mentioned, is we detoxify. We get that stuff.
Whatever's poisoning our system.
Whatever's poisoning our systems, in all the elimination organs, whether it's kidney program or it's liver program,
or colon,
you know, even the skin, you know. But what I've noticed that is most people, because they don't know about the process of detoxification, some people will react depending on the accumulation of the toxins in their system. You will find that they will have a running stomach.
Okay.
Some will even throw up.
Okay.
Or vomit.
Okay.
Or others can throw up and
all of the above.
All of the above.
Just to get this toxin out.
Exactly. Because remember, once you start, when the body is overwhelmed with the toxic buildup, it also gives in and does nothing, and you find that you're constipated. You block your urine blockage, the skin looks, you know, awful. And so you find that your whole system gets blocked. Now, in order for that system to get working again, you've got to unblock it. So that colon that was lodged with all that build up, you work on it. And then once you start helping that body to do its function, it eliminates quickly. It speeds up the process because it's sitting with all that, and then you find, and it will not only wait for you to only go maybe once a little bit to the loo to relieve yourself. It pushes.
Absolutely.
It pushes.
To get it out. To get it out.
Then you find you have a running stomach. You find you may you may throw up. You find you may urinate. You find even the skin, you get skin out, eruptions.
Breakouts, yes.
You know, because the body is trying to
get rid of it.
And then once people, in most cases, we tell people beforehand that you mustn't be shocked when you see your stomach is running.
Yeah.
And you just keep up telling us, because we also monitor how because even at that, we still monitor to see how many times you go, because you find a person may say, I go every 30 minutes or every hour, and then we will try and slow.
Okay.
And
the process down slightly?
Put it down a bit. Not stop it.
No.
But just reduce it.
Okay.
But then you find people, particularly people who have got the medical profession background, who come from conventional. Once they see that stomach running,
got to stop it.
And then you vomit. Then you've got gastro.
Okay.
Then they want to stop it.
Okay.
And that's a problem.
Sure.
Because all that stuff that we were trying to get out, you're actually putting it
now
back.
Stopping it.
Oh, there is nothing that concerns me about that. And it's people who have got from the
a little bit of knowledge.
Conventional, who always panic. You've got to get the stuff out.
Absolutely.
And once, like you mentioned about the blocked drain, when you unblock the drain,
oh my word,
you see the stuff that comes out, because all that stuff that's been blocked, there has got to come out. Then you see the stench, the smell,
absolutely.
The whatnot
but
in the
you just
drain.
mentioned stench now. That's exactly what's happening in our bodies.
That's what happens in our bodies.
But then people would have a runny tummy and say, oh my word, it is disgusting, and the tiles are going to fall off the bathroom wall. But they don't actually realize what they're saying. Because this toxic waste is toxic.
It's toxic.
And it needs to get out.
And it needs to get out. And some of the stuff gets dumped into your bloodstream, actually. It's not just your colon and all that. The bloodstream is also part of the elimination process. So it gets dumped into your bloodstream. And then maybe you feel a bit lethargic.
Yeah.
Then I say, no, I feel weak. The body, but because remember, when we give you stuff that's going to purify the blood, we give you stuff that dumps, and then we give you stuff that purifies.
Sure.
So when you feel a bit lethargic, I say rest.
Absolutely.
Why
let
must
your
you
body
want
heal?
to let your body, because your body needs that energy.
Sure.
To get rid of that stuff.
Absolutely.
So when you feel a bit lethargic and want to then you find that, particularly with us blacks, once you stay in bed for too long, then they say, hey, it's not good, because even other small entities are going to come and do their thing on you. So you find whenever you are meant to, when you sleep, you cannot
It's not
sleep.
a good sign.
It's not a good sign. But if your body says rest, rest.
But Tammy, I think so many people are so preconditioned. When you mentioned about runny tummy, take a pill to stop it. If you are throwing up, if you're in a deep detox program, take a pill to stop the vomiting. If you're sleeping too much, it's not well because they're sleeping. I think people need to actually understand that the body needs to rejuvenate and to heal itself. Again, we need the oxygen. So if we're resting, we're breathing better, we're getting better use of the oxygen to assist the whole healing and detoxing program and to make us feel better. So I think maybe, I'm sure our clients by now are starting to understand the gist of the story, that we cannot just fix one area. It is a whole system.
It's a lot of systems that work together.
Absolutely.
As a system.
But I think we've been taught from little, if we throw up, it's bad. If our tummy runs, it's bad. And I think we need to re-educate people so they understand how their bodies function and not to panic.
And that those organs are organs of elimination. So throwing up, that is an organ of elimination.
Yeah.
Releasing urine
through the skin.
Those are organs of elimination. That's why they are openings.
Absolutely,
Carol.
yes.
Those openings are meant to open so that stuff
can be released. I know when you mentioned the skin, I mean, you'd think years ago of people that had boils and cysts. And they would never realize that all of that was coming from inside.
Exactly, and the body is trying to excrete
Trying to get it out. But they would wrap it up and close it up, and almost there was a bit of a stigma attached to things like this. And now we're starting to learn that it's just it's a natural progression. If we have toxins in our body, once they've been released, we're going to experience
nasal drips and all that.
If our nose is run, we'll quickly want to take a pill to make it dry it up. You end up with cornflakes in your nose.
Exactly.
It needs to come out.
It needs everything has got to come out.
Sure.
You take food in, it's got to come out.
Absolutely. It's got to go somewhere.
Created it.
Precisely.
In, out.
Correct.
You cannot, it's exactly in and out. So in a way, therefore, I hope people understand the importance of salt today.
Yeah.
That even those people that are on salt-free diet, I really am offering that we will be able to help them.
Okay.
To still, we're not that I don't want them to go back to salt, sodium, table salt, but we've got a solution that we will provide to them, a salt that they need to take, and will advise them on how to take it, so that the process of metabolism continues to occur, and those cells are repaired, those cells are produced, and those cells survive.
So we will have the salt shortly for our clients and our viewers?
We will have the salt shortly.
Fantastic. Sounds very exciting.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay.
This is a salt that every home and family should have and use. It has 82 trace elements, it's not heated, and it's in its natural state. You will be absolutely amazed at its health benefits, even its flavor. It's suitable for everybody to use, even those people who are on salt-free diets. We will also recommend on how you should actually be taking it. So, to place an order, call us on 041 484 1555 or order online at info@healthhaven.co.za. It's the best salt that your body can ever need.
inundated by requests to open branches in other cities. We are considering this, but we want to test it in the following cities: Gauteng, East London, Bloemfontein, and Umtata. We can only open one branch at a time. We will test this by visiting these areas twice a week. To assist us, we invite people in these cities to make bookings in advance. The city with the highest number of bookings is the one we will visit first. These visits will serve as a feasibility study to establish the viability of opening a branch in that particular city. We invite bookings from people in these cities. Once you have booked, we will contact you with the details. You can book online or via our landline.
Welcome back. The other day I was cleaning my book cabinet and I came across a journal where I had written many objectives in 2012. And I was quite surprised to see that they never materialized as I had planned them. But they took a different turn, but a turn for the best. We are in good hands, people, the hands of God. Even our health is in the hands of the universe. But God uses many people and institutions to channel His healing. He sends us teachers all the time, and when we are ready, the information makes sense to us, and we embrace it. Health Haven is one of those teachers which the universe is using to channel healing, and we'll feel blessed to be of service to you. Keep up the faith and look after yourself. And goodbye.